What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nick Teixeira, for those of you that don't know me yet, and we have another Finance Friday call tonight, and super excited for the guest that we have on, a brother of mine, Derrick Johnson. He's someone that I've been able to build an awesome relationship over the past 6 months or so, and just someone that I respect a lot, I look up to. I respect his hustle, his discipline is on another level. And we're going to dive in on specifically the topic of acquiring customers tonight. Okay, so I know that a lot of us are entrepreneurs. We have different projects we're working on. And so this is going to be very valuable for everyone here. Okay, any questions that you have throughout this call, you're more than welcome to drop it on the chat, and then we're going to be able to ask them. Okay, and before I pass Derrick the mic to have him share a little bit about his background with us, I just want to say that so he was in the Army for 10 years, 5 years active duty, 5 years in the National Guard. So first and foremost, thank you, man, for your service. He is a certified strength and conditioning coach. He is a Les Brown certified speaker. Man, I'm excited to hear you speak and also potentially attend to that. That sounds incredible. And he also has a degree in exercise science. So, Derrick, thanks for joining us. I know you're in Florida, man. It's beautiful weather over there. Summertime. Thanks for being here. So, Derrick, before we start diving in and asking some questions, why don't we pass it to you for 3 minutes or so and just tell us a little bit of where you're from, a little bit more of your background and what you specialize in, and then we're going to dive into this interview.
Sounds good. So I grew up in Germany. My mother's German. My dad was in the Army, so we bounced around throughout Europe because of the military. And then from there, we moved to Florida and got in high school, went to college, played sports. But then I got into the Army because I followed my dad's footsteps. And then, like Nick was saying, 5 years active, then 5 years Florida Army National Guard. And then from there, I wanted to segue into the entrepreneur space because I just knew that I was just too hungry just to be told what to do all the time. I was getting tired of it. And all respect to the military, but I had to move forward because I knew I had other opportunities, other potential. But yeah, so from there, I got introduced to some of the top marketers and got some mentorship from there and started my marketing agency here in Tampa, Florida. And we cover the South and Central Florida. And other than that, my passion in regards to marketing with the agency is to help businesses acquire customers and clients and increase revenue by leveraging the social media. Because a lot of businesses are just slacking, especially now with the quarantine. You've seen a lot of businesses go out of business. So it's just awesome to see the power of social, the power of Zoom, what we're doing right now. So it's just incredible that we can utilize these tools.
Absolutely, man. Agreed. It is truly powerful. I think this is the future, and I'm excited to learn from you. I know you're really good at what you do. So before we dive in the business side, I have a question for you. Let's talk a little bit about the morning routine, because I know that your discipline about waking up early, getting in the gym and grinding it out, it's impressive and it inspires me. So do you mind telling us a little bit of your morning routine, what that looks like?
Yeah, for sure. So step number one, set an early alarm. So I know we're probably all in different time zones. So I highly suggest waking up by 5 the latest, just so that way you could challenge yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but everybody is not used to challenging themselves. And I guarantee you, if you start just doing these small things, and even for instance, if you use your phone for your alarm clock, put it in another room so you have to get up and walk out to cut it off. So starting the morning with a small win. And that first win is not hitting snooze. So if your phone is in the kitchen or in the hallway or in the bathroom, you actually have to walk. And if you have another device, a tablet or whatever, put that in another room. So then you're walking around like, Jesus, I got to cut all this stuff off. So by that time you're annoyed and you're just like, all right, I might as well stay awake. So in regards to morning routine, that's my advice for early mornings. Just setting that time, getting your body acclimated, waking up, drinking some water, and then getting an early morning workout in. Because we're all entrepreneurs here. So if you're already in that good headspace and you already have those small wins, by the time you get around people or you get in sales calls, your energy level is going to be so much higher. And when stuff happens, traffic, something happens, Wi-Fi goes out, anything that happens throughout the day that just pisses you off, you're going to stay calm because you're already grounded and you're already in that good headspace. So my advice is just wake up early. The first thing you do, hydrate, get a good workout in, healthy breakfast, and then the day is yours. So you're already in total control.
I love that. It's huge. It's huge. And if you haven't tried the alarm in the other room, like, it is so powerful to just get you you know, it forces that concept that we heard from Jack Burke a couple weeks ago on this call of get your feet on the ground. If you can just get your feet on the ground, then you have a fighting chance, right, of building that better habit. So I love that, man. Let's stay on this topic and let's go a little bit deeper. You know, from Nick, I've gotten to know a little bit about you, man, and I know that you're disciplined in regards to the people that you follow and the information that you absorb on a daily basis. What's the number one personal development tool that you use for your own success? And who are some of the big names that you follow so that, you know, our viewers and the people who are going to be watching this call can begin to look up these names of the people who are leading to your own personal success?
So in regards to people, I highly suggest David Goggins. If you guys are not familiar with David Goggins, he was military, Navy SEAL. I highly suggest reading his book, Can't Hurt Me. You Can't Hurt Me. If you read that book, it's going to be life-changing. And if you think that you've been through tough situations, you're going to get a reality check and like, Jesus, this guy literally went through hell and he survived. So that's number one. I highly suggest David Goggins. The other names on this list are not in a particular order, just people I resonate with, are Andy Frisella. So me previously being military, I love people that are hardcore and that are super passionate about what they do, because the kumbaya just doesn't work for me. So yeah, number one, David Goggins. Number two, Andy Frisella. He's the CEO of First Form. It's a supplement company. And you guys have probably heard of the MFCEO project. It's a podcast. Now he has a new one called Real AF, as you know what that stands for. So super passionate person. But those are definitely my top two. And then obviously from there, the legendary Tony Robbins. I know we probably all watch 100 of his videos since we were kids. So those are my top three right there.
I love it. And are you more of a book-oriented person, audio book, Audible, like YouTube videos? What is your main platform of absorption?
I like to change it up because I get bored easy. So I like to do, like, if I'm exercising, I'll listen to an audiobook sometimes or motivational music. And then while driving, I love podcasts while driving. So taking advantage of while you're in traffic, learn while you're already busy. So that way you don't have to sit down and say, oh man, I got to sit down for an hour to read a couple of chapters. If you have the time, great. But as an entrepreneur, it's hard to get that time, or it's hard to be mentally be focused. You go a whole chapter and you realize that you didn't consume anything. So I highly suggest listening to audiobooks and podcasts when you're driving or when you're cleaning the dishes, when you're doing your normal everyday tasks. It's literally a win-win. So you're already busy and you're learning in that meantime. And from there, I suggest speeding up the speed. So I prefer speed 1.2. So it's fast, but it's not too fast. So it actually gets you focused even more because you're trying to catch up to what they're saying. So you get laser focused and you won't get distracted. So that way you're fully zoned in.
I love that, man. That's beautiful. I actually can attest to that. I do the exact same thing on Audible, and it is better. It gets me fully focused. And one little trick and hack that I do as well, not with every book, about 15% of the time, if I have the physical book and the audiobook, then I play it faster and I read along. My mind can literally not think about anything else. I am 1,000% focused on what I'm reading, you know, so that's really cool, man. Thank you for bringing up those names, you know, just bringing it back to my attention, people that I personally want to continue to study. Let's dive in a little bit more on the topic of acquiring customers, right? So you're obviously in the marketing agency. You actively bring customers to companies and, you know, solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and businesses.
Yes.
This is obviously a big topic that we could have just an hour conversation about, but what would you say from a general standpoint? What are some areas for someone that's here that already has a business or is, you know, in the process of launching or building their business, and they are looking to elevate the size of their clientele? What are some like prerequisites that you have to have in place for you to set yourself up to success in acquiring more customers?
I would say step number one before looking at aiming to get customers is do everything on the back end to set yourself up, to give yourself leverage so you look as professional as you can. So we'll start with social media. Number one, have a good professional headshot. So I highly suggest whatever profile picture everybody has on social media or on your business card or on your email icon, on your logo, make sure that it's all congruent. So if I find you on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or any other platform, it's the exact same picture. So that step one right there, you already have a personal brand just based off of that. And you already stand out just from Joe Schmo or Susan and Mary who do the exact same thing you do. So that way, no matter what platform they come on, somebody's first introduction to you is professional. They're like, oh, they're in a suit. They have high quality photos. So they don't see you as somebody that just took a selfie. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but at least at that point, that's opportunity number one. That first impression is your face. So I highly suggest having a professional headshot. And then from there on social media is telling people in minimum words in your bio what you do. So I like to call it a 3-piece statement. So a 3-piece statement is, I help these people do this thing or get this result. So prime example, if Katie was a personal trainer and she says, I help single moms lose weight in 60 days. It's very specific. So that way her niche, when they come across her Instagram or whatever page, they know exactly what she does. So those are my top 2 tips in regards to setting yourself up, picture, and then having a powerful bio. And that bio you can also put in the footer of your email as well. So no matter which communication you have with someone, they know exactly what you do.
Yeah, I love it, man. And just a little quick follow-up question with that. What are some of the up and coming platforms that you are seeing? You know, obviously we have the Facebook, the Instagrams. What do you see that you are currently finding the most results with right now, and why?
So in regards to business is LinkedIn. And mainly because you can build the lists. So for example, let's say Libby wants to, I'm not sure if she also sells Kangen, but let's say she does, and she wants to connect with doctors. She can actually search her city, whatever city she wants to search, and she can write a specific profession. So doctor that are at this hospital or in this town, in this demographic, in this zip code. And then from there, any filters you put in, it spits out a list. And number one, you have to have Sales Navigator, and it's 60 to 70, I think it's 79 now a month, but it's highly worth it because literally with you just entering some information, it'll spit out all the filters that you put in. And from there, you have a lead list that's perfect. And you can just start going down and contacting these people. And in regards to contacting, I highly suggest doing video, mainly because everybody is getting spammed by messages on LinkedIn and social media. They hit you with the paragraphs. We've all probably been there. We might be doing it right now. But when you send a message out, you got to ask yourself, would I actually read this if I received it from somebody random? And if you can be honest with yourself and push your ego aside for a moment, then you can see like, wow, I kind of am spammy, even if the message is positive. But a lot of people, they send a long message and it's just too much fluff. So my first introduction and my advice would be, whatever specific niche you're in, whatever specific industry you're in, you can simply make a selfie video and say, hey, Dennis, I made you this video. Or inside the message would actually say, hey, Dennis, I made you a video. Here's a link below, not wasting your time. So that's all the message says. So while everybody else is getting spammed by 10 paragraphs, you literally wrote one sentence. Hey, Dennis, I made you this video in regards to company name or whatever, not wasting your time. And it strikes people. So you catch their attention. They're like, okay, what is this? And I highly suggest using YouTube Unlisted. So basically, whenever you make that selfie video, just upload it to YouTube. But YouTube, you can upload a video unlisted, which means only the person that gets the link can see it. So that way, only Dennis can see it. Or if I send it to Eric. But from there, you have total power and leverage if they open it because you're providing value, speaking specifically on their niche or whatever their business and so forth is.
Wow, that's fantastic, man. Do you do that regularly?
Yes. Just because on LinkedIn is so powerful, and same thing with Instagram, is sending specific personalized videos, just stating their name. Hey, Emily, I came across your Instagram. I saw XYZ, and I was wondering YZ, whatever. So whatever the exact conversation is, whatever the call to action is, or if you're just trying to open up some dialogue, it's going to catch people off guard because nowadays people aren't social. So if you take advantage of video and you make everything personalized, you're going to stand out. And it costs you no money. Like LinkedIn Sales Navigator does because you can create that list, but it costs you no money to make a selfie video. So in regards to learning all these tactics, all that's cool, but take it old school. I'm old school. I like to have conversation. So if you can just make a video, provide value, you're going to stick out. Even if they respond or don't, they're going to remember you. They're going to be like, man, Libby, she's the girl that sent me that video that does X, Y, Z. There's 10 other people that messaged me, but she sent me a video. You're going to stand out immediately.
That is so good. I love the creativity with that. And it is so simplistic, but you're right. No one does that. That's so good. Thanks for bringing that to our attention here. So
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So next question that I have is let's talk a little bit more about the marketing psychology, right? So now we are sending out, those videos, or just in any form that we're reaching out and creating those relationships and, piquing people's interest in order to increase our revenue and acquire more clients for ourselves. Can you talk a little bit more about the marketing psychology? What are some of the tools that you've learned? What are some of the, not tricks, but like, what are some of the ways that you began to understand how your clientele thinks? How do you create that for yourself, and how do you target that when you know it?
So it all starts with what industry you're in. So whatever industry you're in, so I'll just give examples because I know everyone is probably in different industry. So we'll just stick to something basic. So we'll talk about personal training. So my examples will be in regards to personal training. We can all relate. So let's say, for example, personal training, I start with the headline. So whatever industry you're in, think of a headline, which is the attention grabber. I know we've all seen a headline where there's a question and you're like, oh man, they're talking to me. Like, hey, Eric, have you thought about doing XYZ in 10 days? And you're like, I have thought about that. And just that little trigger, that little millisecond where you make them stop scrolling, that headline is powerful. So if you can say something with less words, but powerful, speaking directly to your consumer or who your ideal client would be, opposed to saying like something generic. So let's say, for instance, if Louisa, sorry if I mispronounced your name, let's say she was a mom and she was looking for a certain product to help her health. And she came across your ad or your page or your message, and the headline said something in regards to, are you a single mom? Have you thought about XYZ to increase your health in a short amount of time? Immediately, if she fits that criteria, you've already caught her attention. And I tried to share my screen, but I saw that I couldn't actually share it. You locked it, but
I can unlock it for you.
You can unlock it. Okay, it'll be much easier to show you something real quick.
Let me see.
I'm just gonna pull up a whiteboard and I'll just write a few things.
Absolutely. Try to do it now.
Perfect. All right. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so is that big enough for everyone? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, you can see it.
Perfect. So in regards to marketing psychology, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I'm not certified in it, but one of the number one things that I learned about it was the VAK system. V is for visual. So in regards to the VAK system, this is a way for you to capture people's attention and to take them down, let's say, the sales process. So if I would like to have Emily make a decision, she's going to be one of these three things. So she's either going to be a visual learner, a auditory learner, or a kinesthetic. So meaning, in order for Emily to make a decision, she may be a visual learner. So she may have to see things and say, this makes sense. So if it makes sense visually, she's going to make a decision to either buy that product or that service. And then Katie, she could be auditory, where she doesn't have to see anything. You could just tell her in person, on Zoom, on a phone, and she gets clarity just like that. And then from there, you have kinesthetic. Kinesthetic are people, which are actually the majority of percent. So 35% of people are visual learners, and they can make a decision based off of visual clarity. So if you can explain things to them, they can see it, they feel good, they can move down the sales process. Number two, 25% of people are auditory. So you can tell them verbs, verbal conversation, they're good to go. You can move them down the sales process. But the majority of people are actually kinesthetic, which means they learn or they will make a decision based off of emotion. So if they can feel it and it's connected emotionally, that triggers them to have more logic to make that decision. So in regards to sales or marketing, knowing what kind of person the individual that you're speaking to is. But if you already know that 40% of people are kinesthetic, then you can start to speak more emotionally with people or storytell or break down the barrier to have feelings, a connection, and something to get people to have more logic with that. And then from there, auditory, just either if you have to amp yourself up because you can tell that person's personality is really amped up, you can do that. Or some people are really shy. So if you you don't have to mirror them specifically, but you can talk a little bit softer. And then from there, visual. So just giving people clarity. So this VIK system has really helped me, and hopefully that helps you guys. That's that in a nutshell without the science, but that's a great overview.
Yo, brother, this is Eric. What's up, Derrick?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. This is so valuable, and especially when to relay it back to when you're talking about when you're sending a video to someone in that system, you're hitting all three of those where you don't know what type of that person's going to be yet. You can get it if you get an idea of looking at their profile, but that's so huge. And I definitely agree with you. When you send something so unique to someone, something that I always send someone cold was, what are you grateful for? And I've met so many of those cold leads people, they've found me somewhere in public and they were like, yo, you were that kid that asked me what I was grateful for.
There you go.
So it's so valuable. And so, finding something unique to us. But I want to ask you a question on, as most of us on here are developing ourselves in this marketing and branding side of things, is developing the persona that we our ideal customer, right? How we develop those and be able to, hey, that's the type of person I want to work with. And for me, I find I don't get too niche enough. I keep it a little bit too broad, maybe in a lack psychology sense. But what is your, opinion in education on allowing us to, find that persona that we can, go after and market towards?
It honestly depends on what your product or service is. So what product or service, could you give an example?
Yeah, I work with Kangen as well as Nick and Mike. And
okay,
so
perfect.
That's what I work with. But you can, I would say, give us an example on a health standpoint, just someone who's looking for health.
So on a health standpoint, you can narrow it down to specific goals. So let's say there's 5 different people. Guy number 1 wants to gain muscle. Guy number 2 wants to just get lean. Guy number 3 wants to do a triathlon. Guy number 4 just wants to bench 225 because he's never been able to hit it. Guy number 5 is a dad and he's 50 years old. His kids are in college and he just wants to be healthier. So figuring out exactly who your person is. So in regards to Kangen water, you can narrow that down as in demographic. So I'm not sure what state you live in, but you can narrow it down to where, let's say you want to focus on a financially thriving zip code. You can actually focus your demographic on that zip code, and then you can start to think the way that they think. So in regards to your headline, your message, the words that you use, maybe even like a popular area in that zip code. So just identifying who that person is and then knowing small things about them. So in regards to their interests, what they do on the weekends, their hobbies, start really thinking about personal things that person would do. So that way, when you have that conversation or you do marketing, I'm not sure if you run any ads, but all this ammo you can actually use into Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if you run ads on there as well. So that'll be my suggestion, is to narrow it down where in regards to Kangen water is, who is your ideal client? I know you want to help everyone, but I would just narrow it down. Like, does Eric want to help athletes? Does he want to help mothers or people that have health issues? That could be your passion as well. So that's just my suggestion. If I was you, I would just narrow it down just to pinpoint who you want to help. Because that way you can get some experience and use it to your advantage. And you can say, hey, I've helped these athletes and the water did amazing. He's a faster runner now. He breathes better and so forth. So whatever that niche is. So that's a good way to narrow down that niche by not being too broad where you're trying to hit everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so valuable. And because then you, like you said, you're able to tailor from the research, the headline and the message and everything, so forth. Because I know for me, I, tagged my social media was all more personal side stuff and like a journal and, and like that side where it's now you got to transition it into being more of a business standpoint and reaching out and capturing those clients. And so all the stuff that you touched on copywriting was so valuable as well. Anyone else got a question that we can ask Derrick here?
I have a question. I'm going to selfishly take the mic back. Let's speak about a skill set, maybe an individual skill set that you have now that you wish you could have developed much sooner because it's changed the game for you.
Skill set, nothing too technical, but I think is the most important one is being an active listener. Just being better at listening to people. Be a better listener and ask better questions. No matter what industry you're in, that's going to help you with anything, with business, relationships, sales conference meetings, whatever it is. Just being a better listener, because that way you're just gaining ammo. And then asking specific questions.
Very good, man. What are
that would be number one?
Yeah, I love that. Why don't we just dive in a little bit more? What are some ways that you can begin to increase your awareness and make progress in becoming a better listener?
My suggestion is start speaking to, contrary of what your parents would tell you when we were kids, don't talk to strangers, but start talking to strangers more in public. You're going to start getting more confident talking to people. So next time you buy groceries, open a conversation with the person in front of you or behind you. Crack a joke. Give them a compliment. Like, hey, nice blue shirt. Where'd you get that? Oh, you like Nike as well? Like anything. Just pinpoint something and just start a normal conversation. And then just ask certain questions, but just fully be focused. So like the whole goal of that training or that experience is to fully focus on the person that you're speaking to and fully listen to them. Because now in the digital age, everybody's doing this all day long. And when they get in public, they almost can't get out of the digital zone where they're like, man, I need a drink or I need to smoke. I need to do something to get in the zone to actually hold conversations. So doing these small things in public, just having conversations with people is really going to help you. But the whole point of having the conversation is just to be an active listener. So by the time you walk away from that older gentleman or the kid or the lady, whoever it is, you're thinking in your head, oh, she does X, Y, Z. He said X, Y, Z. And you're just absorbing what you just heard. And something that simple is going to help you with everything, because I know all of us are entrepreneurs and we have sales meetings and all that. And we might have quotas in our heads and we might have everything. And we're actually not listening that much. We could have missed a couple things that we could have brought forth at the end of the meeting or at the end of the call. But we're so busy thinking about the numbers or the commission we might get or this and this, where we can just stop thinking and just be present and just listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Presence is huge, and being able to have that communication. Question I have for you is what was maybe a limiting belief that you worked yourself through, or like it was you had to get through to be able to, be more expressive in yourself? Because all of us, we are wanting to, a lot of people don't want to connect with the person next to them or whatever in that time. So what maybe in your digital marketing standpoint and all that, what was a limiting belief that you worked through to be able to make it to where you are now?
Limiting belief at first was, it wasn't lack of self-awareness. It was more so not having the experience. So basically like knowing that I could approach a business owner saying like, hey, I can help you with your business, but I've never actually done it. So let's say square one. So everybody's on a different level and a different path on their journey. So if you've never had a sale, in the back of your head, you may be confident, but this side of your head, you might be like, well, I've never gotten any results. So how is Nick going to believe me that I can get him 300 leads in a month or whatever the case may be? So basically improving your skills to the point where you literally feel so confident and you're in that powerful state in that meeting where you're like, hey, if I get a client right now, I'm going to figure it out. I don't care. Like it's all in. I got a client. I can't say, oh, this is my first time. It's like, no, I got this client. He or she paid me. I need to provide the value. If I got to stay up till 2 a.m. on Google, on YouTube, I'm going to make it happen. But putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions, that's where you're going to grow the most as a business owner, entrepreneur, or just person in general, where you're going to learn on the journey, because experience is going to teach you more than anything, especially when you fall on your face. Because before you fell on your face, you were scared to, but once it happened, you learned a lot.
Yeah, that's huge. And so to dig into that a little bit more is like, obviously you have some internal hunger and internal fire within you to,
Yes.
break through that barrier.
Yes.
Did you always have that? And if not, like, what did you do to build that within yourself?
Sorry, my dog was barking. Could you repeat that?
No, great question. No worries. What I was saying is, you obviously have an internal fire within yourself, like that, the willingness to win, where a lot of people aren't born with that. It's a talent it's a skill that is obtained, And so
Yes.
where did that come from for you? And like, did you always have that? Or what was like that turning point for you that like kicked that in for yourself?
So the turning point to me was just growing up. I was always inspired by extreme stories. I don't know why, just even as a kid, I would watch, let's say Rocky, prime example. Everybody's seen Rocky. I just love that hardcore, or seeing the guy who came back from deployment, losing his arms and legs, and then he does a triathlon and gets first place. Like extreme stuff like that just always helped me, because it gave me that perspective where I'm like, I'm complaining about traffic. I'm complaining about my allergies to pollen. I don't know, just random stuff like that we complain about. Oh, my Wi-Fi sucks. Oh, this and this. Like we complain in our head, and then we don't realize like everybody's sipping water right now. Everybody has lights. I mean, we have Wi-Fi. So just getting that reality check to know that you're actually blessed. So thinking of those extreme situations to give you that drive where basically you're like, man, this guy or woman would love to trade spots with me to stress about Wi-Fi or a flat tire or catching the bus, whatever it is. So definitely extreme stories. And my suggestion is just start reading books, watching movies, watching interviews of anybody that you're interested in, a high performer in any industry that's been through crazy situations. And you'll be totally surprised what you learn, because a lot of people, they'll see these people at the top level and they're like, oh, it might be easy. Oh, he's super talented or she's super talented, but they don't know the whole journey. We've all seen that picture of the mountain that's in the ocean. Yeah, exactly. You see it under the water, but all you see is the top. So that analogy, but in real life. And then outside of that, personally, is that just my family. We all have a family member who's been through hell and back, and thinking of that person and having that why. So not just having that financial goal. Yes, we're all here. We would love to all make money, get XYZ in our bank account. But those days where you're stressed or you're depressed or reality hits you in the face, you think of your grandma or your uncle or your cousin who's deployed right now, or so-and-so who passed away last year. Thinking of those key people in your life. We all have someone, and those people are going to be the ones to drive you. Because I believe when let's say tomorrow morning I wake up and I'm stressed. I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym, blah, blah. I snap in my head. I'm like, why am I complaining? My grandma, so just some backstory, my mother's German. And so all her family was in Germany. So my grandma survived the Holocaust. So in that moment, I would think of her hiding in the attic, not getting killed. Like that's an extreme thing. Some people are like, whoa, that's crazy, but it works for me immediately. Like in 1 millisecond, my mind switches because I thought of her in the attic. Or on my dad's side, he's African-American, he's from Mississippi. So all his ancestors were slaves and went through hell. So just thinking of both of those extremes really puts that perspective into me and lights that fire that I grew up blessed. I grew up in the suburbs and all this, but I'm like, they went through hell to give me a good life. So I'm not allowed to complain. So that's like my rule to myself.
Man, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Derrick. And I'm gonna work on that myself. I have those as well in my life. However, I forget to bring that into perspective a lot of times. So that is really good. That mindset of I'm not. I refuse to make excuses. Right. I'm not in a position to do so. And keeping that in perspective, I challenge every single one of us here tonight to spend some time thinking about what's going to be that trigger, what's going to be that chip on our shoulder that we can think of, and it's going to remind us of who we really are and how blessed we are. I think that is so powerful, man. So I'm super grateful that you've joined us tonight. We're going to stop the recording here, but we're going to stay another 10 or 15 minutes for the people that are live so we can ask you some more questions. For those of you watching a recording, thank you for joining us. I'm going to put in the description of this video, Derrick's information, social media, and you're going to be able to get in contact with him there. So thank you again, Derrick, and God bless everyone.